another panel discussion session, and we have a topic on ethics of AI and automation in law, delving into the ethical implication of using AI and automation in legal practice, addressing concerns about bias, accountability, and human oversight. For that, I would like to call upon on stage Mr. Rajiv Malik, who's a head of legal at LG Electronics Noida manufacturing facility. He is the moderation of the panel discussion. Hello. Next, we have Shweta Prasad, who's an associate director at Accenture Solution Private Limited. Next, we have Arpita Majumdar, who's the head of legal and compliance at Livspace. Next, we have Harsha Kumar Shetty, who's a global ethics and compliance officer at Bharat Serum and Vaccine Limited. Thank you, guys. Give round of applause, guys. Come on.
So good afternoon, everyone. We welcome you all for this, it will be undergoing discussions towards the technology, ethics, and AI. Right? I have seen that many topics have been discussed on the similar lines, so we would like to be a little bit different this time. Right? So we all know that technology is a part and parcel of our life, be our mobiles, laptops. In fact, I'm working with LG, and LG is very technology savvy. All of the products are having now AI inbuilt in the products, right? I was talking to my panelists right now that we have a refrigerators, TV, where you can check the nutrition value, right, when they are going to be spoiled. So all these things are already built up. And in fact, I was just telling them that we have also tied up with Hyundai, and where that you will get the AI services from LG built up in the cars itself, right? So I would like to, we are actually having a fortunate enough to have the distinguished panel with us, Mr. Harsha, Arpita, and Shweta, who will share their expertise in AI and law. And we will also discuss these certain topics like potential bias in algorithms, accountability in automatic processes, and the importance of human oversight. Right. So without further ado, let's begin our conversation. Harsha, perhaps you can share your insights on how can we ensure ethical AI is implemented in the legal field, particularly in terms of fairness, transparency, and accountability.
Thanks, Rajiv. That's a great question. Firstly, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking your time out for this discussion and this meeting today. So I would want this discussion not restricted to 3-4 of us. Let's keep it open. If you have inputs as audience, please feel free to participate. Now, Rajiv, coming to the question, right? The use of AI in decision making, especially from a legal perspective. See, one thing is for sure. AI has a profound impact in practically all spheres, right? Be it legal, accounting, anywhere. It has profound impact. But this has to be looked at with a very cautionary eye, and especially reflecting on fairness, transparency, and accountability. Let me put it this way, right? Today, all of us, let's look at a society where, has not seen cars, right? And we're looking at the cars for the first time, and we're just wowed at the fact, right? The car taking a reverse, right or left, we're just wowed about it, right? Not really knowing what the capabilities are, right? And how effective it's going to be. So AI is like that. We are all wowed at the fact everybody is practically talking about AI, not realizing there are some important elements to be very careful about. And the one thing which I want to highlight about, and definitely today as we talk about, definitely not for now, that AI can be used for any kind of decision making. Just to call about one particular thing, Rajiv, and I think my other panel members also would agree to that, the biasness which exists to a certain extent. There are a couple of examples which come recently in the media itself, right? So recently the question was asked whether a particular minister was fascist, right? Right. Now what the AI, and everybody knows this, right? It was like totally a very, not a very balanced view about this thing. It said that, Vladimir Putin is very, not a fascist and so on and so forth. While that's not the real case, at least in my view. You might have a different view. So the biasness do exist, right? Uh, the second important thing is how these AI models actually work. Nobody really knows, right? Nobody really knows that. There's need for a regulatory framework around that, a legal framework into structuring how this AI models should operate. So it's really cast shadow on transparency. Let me put it that way. Now, when I say that, what I essentially mean is that today all of us know that, let's say a ChatGPT tool or practically any LLM tool, right? It works on a generative AI, which looks at a vast state of data. It'll reference it, cross-reference it, make a quick summary out of that. That's wow, super. But how does it work? So transparency is one of the important questions which we have to gather an answer to, what it is. Last but not the least is accountability. I think accountability is again a question. Today we don't know that if there's a decision made basis legal or basic AI system, who will be held accountable, right? So recently I was just hearing today morning, and I think what happened is in the US, some lawyers lost their licenses because they are relied on AI system to prepare a case and try putting notice and all of that, right? There are licenses. So that's the accountability, right? So these are some of the concerns, and I think today in this discussion,
Yes.
we need to highlight on some
So
of them.
basically you are mentioning regarding the black box problem which we are having, right?
Absolutely right.
That is a really concern area because nobody is aware, and in fact the creator of the codes are not aware that what output it will give. Right, and another thing which we have talking about the AI in the cars and other things. In US there is a one feature is there, the drowsiness alert feature, right? If you will go, how it can be biased. I am just giving one example that this model has been trained on the young chaps who are computer savvy who are playing games, right? Right. So so that has been trained on that model. So if in India or somewhere else it will be implemented, right? Then suppose my eyes are very small, it will say I am having a drowsiness, right? Maybe the aged person, right? So these kind of systems are there, which are the loopholes are there, which needs to be addressed while implementing it there.
I think, Rajiv, this is a very great thing. I think some years back, I mean, this AI we are hearing for the last 1 year, so they had implemented this AI system in Bombay CST station to detect some unusual movements, capture after the terrorist attack happens. And practically, the room where the AI system was involved was beeping with a lot of alarms. Because practically, in the Mumbai CST station, everybody's panicking, right? Everybody's running, carrying the luggage, so whom to catch? The police, and they disabled the AI system, right? That's what it is, right? So that's another part.
In fact, recently we have also discussing regarding whether the AI tools can be used as an evidence in court or not, right? Suppose I was giving example of that drowsiness alert. Suppose if anyone ignores it, right, and then accident happens, maybe the ignore is because he is not feeling drowsy and still that alarm is there, alert is there, and if accident happens, then that AI system in the car will go against that person itself. So there are certain challenges are there. So with that I come to the Shweta. How do you think that legal professionals navigate the ethical challenges of utilizing AI tools, especially for contract review and legal research?
Yeah, thanks for that, Rajiv. So definitely, you touched upon it, that when we have AI, now AI is basically machine learning. So what does that mean? That means they take a lot of data and make patterns out of it. Generative AI is going even faster because these patterns are used by using internet data. So the data already exists out there, and using that they can make these patterns really fast. So the challenges that we see in this is, again, something you touched upon, which is that there tends to be a bias in the data. So the first thing when we are thinking of using data in legal, we have to be very particular about how good the data is. So an example of this will be, in legal, we are, like you mentioned, we tend to use predictive policing. And when we see this data, one of the things that is coming out is that there are biases against certain race or color that we tend to see as an output. So we have to be very sure about the kind of data that is going into our legal system. That's the first thing. The second thing that we need to think about is that, one thing we used to say in India, and especially when I joined the profession, they used to say, "Humne baal aise safed nahi kiye," right? So the thing that we wanted to do as new joiners in the profession was to look older, because we used to really value the experience and the judgment that people with experience had. So similarly, when we use AI, we shouldn't forget that we are not at the point where we can use AI 100%. We should have some human interaction, human element in it, intervention. So before we, like you mentioned about evidence, if an evidence is actually presented to a court of law, we still need to understand whether the AI is the right one to rely on, or whether we should be looking at other circumstantial evidence as well, right? The other element which I think which is very interesting, which is coming up in AI, is intellectual property. So you might have seen, if you're really working with ChatGPT, you can ask it to pretend to be a certain person or a certain publication even, right? Or if you've seen certain AI tools that is used for creating portraits or to create work of art, you can say, I want it to look like a Van Gogh work of art, right? Now, firstly, did they have the rights to feed the data Van Gogh's work of art? Did they get the royalties on it, firstly, to, put it into the system as a data set? Secondly, who owns this work of art now? If this work of art gets sold, then who is going to gain out of it? Will it be Van Gogh? Because actually he was the creative person who thought of how the drawing and the work of art should look like. Similarly, you will see certain things with photographers, they have a very classic way of taking portraits. But today you can use AI to say, give me photographs of someone who's married in the 80s with this photographer's style, and you can get output. So IP is also a very big concern in the legal sector when it comes to usage of AI. And one thing which again Harsha touched upon, there is an element of what we call as hallucination right now with AI. What does that mean? That means that based on what it knows, it thinks it can create new content. Okay, so what he touched upon in the US, this lawyer used AI to find case laws to support his reasoning when he was going to present to the court. And what happened was that AI made its own cases, and it sounded so true and so convincing that this lawyer didn't even bother going and cross-checking that whether it's true or not, right? So that is the level of conviction that AI has. And we, again, in the legal sector, we have to be very careful that we are not depending and we are cross-checking things that we are getting back from AI. And the last one that I want to touch upon is sustainability, So again, I think the session before this also touched upon it. When we train AI on data sets that we want, like I said, if we don't want to go to Gen AI, we don't want to go to the internet, we want to train it ourselves. It takes a lot of resources to train it. There's a huge impact on carbon footprint. There's a huge impact on the man hours that we put in to train the AI. And this is, in today's world, this is a very big aspect. Should we, as organizations, go out there and train ourselves, or should we, like what happened in the tech arena earlier with open source, that where we share our our findings and we share how we are training our AI across the industry. So these are all very important aspects to think of when we look at how we are implementing AI for our legal department.
Yeah, thank you very much. You have touched upon the IPR part, which I will cover in the last part of the session. And regarding the one part which I was asking you regarding the contract review and legal review, any inputs on that if you are having specifically?
Yeah, so specifically, like I said, I think we need to be very careful with the data that we are adding in the thing. So even when I say that I'm putting in legal review data, so where do I get contracts that work for me, right? So that has to be created. I think one thing that people don't realize is that this is a year-on journey, right? So like I'm in a tech world, right? In Accenture, we really focus on technology and consultancy. So the kind of purchases that we do is very varied. It's not like what the person before us in the RPA session was saying. She's talking about products. So her products are very specific. Now, if I'm selling water today, I know what my water contract should look like, and maybe I can use an RPA for that. But if I'm using, technology to review our contracts, which are very, very varied, I first need a data set to have, to teach the AI. And that AI should not produce contracts or red lines, which are very against the supplier also. Just because I'm a big company, I should not land up using AI and pushing my agenda and being unreasonable in the market. So these are the type of things we have to be careful of when we are using it specifically.
Basically, you are saying the win-win situation for both should be there, for supplier, vendor, and the company itself.
Yes, I think that we need to have very good data sets to train. And in that situation, we should be very careful about the contracts that we are feeding and we are training AI with.
Yes, in fact, there are many companies are there which are using AI and making that contract, using in the contract software. But the challenges which I generally see that the implementation part of it is the gestation period is very long. Right, till the time we will get implemented, we will train employees and the whole structure is getting changed. So that's, I think, the challenge which especially the IT companies who are working in this AI and Gen AI contract review has to be looked into it. Right, now coming to Arpita, right? So you are having a vast experience. So what are your views on the diversity and inclusivity, especially the steps which organizations can take to promote these things? And AI, while developing the AI tools to mitigate the risk of these biased algorithms.
Okay. So I'll pick up from where Shweta left, and I'll probably start with why do we even need to address the question of diversity, right? We just spoke about how sustainability is a major challenge, and we keep focusing on future aspects of how the jobs will be taken away, but we are not really acknowledging the present situation that AI is generating. The hardware that AI uses, that itself requires complex technology and high energy requirements. That essentially means a handful of companies or even developed countries have the privilege to develop such technology, which is again leaving behind the developing and underdeveloped countries, right? So there itself we have we have brought about a huge gap between the countries who have accessibility to AI. You're already having technology to do the work in a much faster pace, leaving the underprivileged in a race that they can't compete. This is one reason why we need to build in and acknowledge the diversity and inclusivity aspect. Second, the software itself. Now consider, how is the software built? Who is the person who is building the software? Just like an architect, right, who builds a building, and they have a vision for it. They would build a ramp for wheelchair if they understand it is required to give accessibility to people of all, variety of different races, abilities. So this is one aspect that we don't consider, that the people who are building these softwares and AI tools have inherent biases that are creeping into the development of the software. So now, before we actually implement it within our systems, we need to step in at that stage where the development is happening. And there we need to bring in, as organizations, governments, states, or any institution for that matter, if wanting to implement AI and use AI, should take some steps. And first thing is to understand that it is just a tool. It is just a tool like we have done for, say, HR management systems, for legal management systems. So when you're adopting this tool, you will have to have a clear principle of your organization. And when it is being developed, you will have to take a say in what are the principles that the AI should follow, right? So when AI is being developed, participating in that development and bringing diversity in the team that is developing AI tools is a way to ensure that the biases are not generated in the outcome that we are intending to implement in our systems. Another thing is the legislative, administrative, procedural, whatever law that we want AI to implement. It has always existed. Google Translate is also an AI system as much as a ChatGPT is. But if we acknowledge how fast ChatGPT has picked up in comparison, you would understand Google Translate took 78 months to reach 100 million users, whereas ChatGPT only required 2 months to reach 100 million users. So understand the vast nature of implementation that has happened, but without understanding without understanding the accountability of the outcome, right? When we input any data in a AI-based system, we do not know how it is processing, what is its training data set, which is being relied on to get to an outcome. And we have not addressed the biases and any kind of bias that may exist in that data set itself. So if you today go to ChatGPT and type, give me a picture of a lawyer, the most probable outcome would be a white male wearing specs and a coat, right? That does not entirely, you see around the room, it is not the representation of what a lawyer is. So, yeah, so understanding that the implementation is a much later part. It is at the time when we are wanting to adopt a tool, how the tool is to be written, what is the data set that is going into this tool, what are the principles that we want to define this tool to be using, so that the outcome has some accountability, the outcome has some reliability. And today, what organizations also need to do is build that accountability into the AI tool. You have to question the tool, what is the data set that you are using and to analyze the data that we give you. So we all know ChatGPT, but there is a similar tool called Bloom, which works on ethics-based data. They declare the data that they are using to give any outcome or a result that you may ask question to, but we don't question that. So that is something that organizations need to start doing. It is like in any other, automation, you would always inquire, right? Take example of an HRMS tool. You would always inquire whether your HR data will be kept safe. How is the processing done? What cloud are you using to store that data? But when we are using it for legal, we do not ask those questions. We do not ask, where are you getting the contract samples from? What is your sample data set? What are the laws that you have taken into consideration while preparing certain drafts? So I think this is where organizations need to step in and start questioning before they come to the implementation stage.
It's very insightful response indeed, right? But here you are mentioning the AI as a tool, right? It's not only a tool, it's a very powerful tool actually. Basically we have created it, now actually we are fearing that it will overcome humans also, right? Right.
Yes, in fact, just to add, I was watching a reel like most of us do, but in that they were talking about this incident where the AI went to a website and it was told to book some tickets or something like that, so do an activity, and the tool asked, are you a robo? And on the side they opened the code to understand what AI was thinking. So the AI at that point is thinking, I should not tell this machine that I am not a human. So the way it did the tracking, it ticked the box that I am not a robo, and it did it like a human. So, you know, this is why, yes, there are a lot of considerations and a lot of thinking that we need to do, because they have analytical power. So it's not like what, you know, the session before us was about, which is an RPA, where you are getting an output. Here it's deriving analytics to drive an action. They're using patterns to sort of do your thinking for you. So yeah, I agree.
Yes, yes. I have seen one cartoon in Economic Times where it was mentioned that God is asking human being, I was not having any fear while I created you. Why you are fearing while you are creating the AI, right?
So it is said that quantum computing, as you would know, quantum computing is the pinnacle of AI. So it is said that a fully functional quantum computer would be able to encrypt or break through all the encryption codes that
Right.
we have developed till now, the banking systems. So imagine having certain companies develop, just because they have the financial resources to do so, they develop the quantum computers in such a manner that developing countries have no protection to what passwords or the encryption systems we have in place.
Yes, that's actually a big challenge, quantum computing, because all our passwords will be gone like.
Correct.
But today it's very difficult, right? But after quantum computing, and another part, the sustainability which you have touched, after computing, in the quantum computing, the lot of infrastructure is required actually. So that's the thing here. With that, I come to the similar type of question to you, Harsha, that what are your views on how AI and automation can access to justice while addressing concerns about job displacement among legal professionals?
Firstly, that's a great question again, access to justice, and I like the point, Shweta, which you mentioned about sustainability and all of that. That's a very good point, which I had missed it so far. But coming to the point here, Rajiv, on access to justice. Now, that's a very, very, I would say, emotional topic, right? So let me share a small anecdote, maybe for next 30 seconds, right? So one of our friends was working in the social justice area and all of that, social work and all of that, and he has had an opportunity to visit to a prison, and where he saw a boy who was about 15 years, 14, 15 years. He was for a reason, maybe for 5 years. But since he did not have access to the right judiciary mechanism, to the lawyers and all of that, his stay in the prison got extended beyond. It was for 2 years. It got extended 5 years. Now, see, in the society that we are in, we have a lot of such cases where the access of judiciary is very limited, and especially it's like a triangle, right? Where at the top, everybody has the access to it, but at the bottom, nobody has access, or very limited access. People don't know why they have been charged for, what the rights are. It's totally not known by not many who have been wrongly convicted. So, if I were to break up what the problem lies in, there are two problems here. One, when you talk about access to justice, there are two problems here. One, there are lack of lawyers, okay? And secondly, the tools and the resources that these lawyers have very limited, right? And accessing a lawyer with a great expertise comes at a very steep cost. Not everybody can afford it. Maybe 10%, 20%, but not everybody can afford it. And that's where AI has a very prominent role to play. Today, you can do any case research, although not relying completely on that. Already need to have 100% check, recheck, audit, monitoring on that. But you can have a significant expedite your research work by running some AI tools, by running a prompt, which might, or if you're not familiar with the certain laws and regulations, having a quick run, a prompt run on the AI tool might definitely give you a quick access to certain resources. Having said that, your work doesn't get simplified, but your responsibility doesn't get absolved. That's the first bit of it, right? So, coming to the second part of it, right, what Rajiv you said, that what about job losses and everything? So the answer is the AI would not have any job risk as such, at least not for now, I don't know about 50, 20 years back what will be the case, but at least not for now. And what are the reasons for it? One of the first reasons which I can think is that AI doesn't have that expressive power which a human being has, right? AI would give you some case summaries, some case laws without knowing what the law is, why the enactment has, because it doesn't have that human touch with that. So long as humans, I mean, as human beings, we understand where the pain is, we always have an upper hand than what an AI tool is, right? And it'll always be sustaining all throughout, right? That's what I could say. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, yes. So you are saying basically sentimental part of that is missing in that, so that cannot be overcome by AI.
Right.
But it's, I think, but still it's a big risk because anyways the certain jobs will go, right? And the people have to reskill themselves and using the AI tools.
Right.
That's
See, I tell
the
you what,
way forward.
sorry Rajiv, just to interrupt here. When you say job going, maybe a basic research job or something might go. But the cream level of job, where your expertise are there, that would never go. That'll take a lot of time to come in. You take any case rulings, anything, look at the kind of combination, the kind of thought process which has gone in when the lawyers have given a case decision, the kind of rulings, enactments that they've looked at. That kind of, sanity checks that AI has to evolve many years. It won't happen immediately now.
Yes, immediately, but I cannot say it 15, 20 years because the way technology is going on, it's matter of, I think maybe 5 years is too far.
Yeah, you're right.
That's my view actually.
I agree to that point, Rajiv. See, the point is technology does evolve very quickly and they do come back, but still we have time for now, at least I could say.
Yeah, one thing I'll add in your support, Rajiv, so there is something that I don't know if you've seen, but in Singapore, they've actually come up with this regulation where they are looking and giving funding, reskilling, because they are expecting job disruption with AI. And, it's something that I've argued a lot with my fellow lawyers as well, that in a country where our the best part about us is our labor, right? Like population can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. So if we want to use the number of people we have in the country, we must think about how to use them efficiently. Is technology the best thing that we should use, or should we upskill our people and use our people to do that? So a classic, argument that I got and I want to share with this group was that, we used to have rickshawalas who were doing the manual labor of running a rickshaw. According to me, that was still giving him dignity of life. He was doing something he did not need to be trained on. But the argument I got was that these people did upskill, maybe not the same person, but the group did upskill. Today they are driving Ubers, right? So we do need to, as a humanity, I think we need to think of where we are going and where we are going to put our human resources and thinking. And one more thing that I want to add, because we are talking about ethics and we are talking about almost fearing AI. I think, my statements are more towards that. But I will support, again, what Harsha said, that there are a lot of benefits, obviously, with AI, So the accuracy with which it can give outputs, and the efficiency, the speed with which we can get such things is very high. Now, someone again was just sharing with me incidentally that AI is capturing people who are not wearing seat belts in one of our states in India. Based on that, a challan is going, right? So you are getting a challan, and my honestly, what I don't like about my challans that I get when I'm driving is I get it after 3 months and I have no clue what I did that day. Okay, so now that it comes with a photograph that yes, I did do this act or I parked in the wrong place. I think these are benefits, and these are like something about accessibility to justice and an authentication that when the state is policing you, they're policing you with the right intention and with the right to drive the right behavior. So I think using it in the right method and in the right places is definitely something we can benefit, but we will have to think about reskilling.
Right. I think we have already having virtual codes, and Apple has come up with the Vision Guard or Vision Pro, I think, with the certain lenses. Then we can have the full arbitration experiences sitting at home and feeling that we are sitting in some 3D chamber or like that. So this is very going to happen in very near future actually. With that, I come to Arpita again, right? Can you put some light on the interdisciplinary collaboration between ethics, legal scholars and technologists and policymakers, and contributed to the ethical development of AI in legal team?
So basically, see, we are far from making any conclusive determination on where we are headed with AI. We are walking on the path and we are creating it as we go. But since we are in the process of creating this entire universe where technology would drive a lot of our decision making and processes that we imbibe in our society, we cannot say that AI will function in vacuum, right? It will get interwoven with our society. So that is why it also becomes very important that all the stakeholders who eventually will be impacted and will also be some manner controlling the AI versions come together, and there is a collaboration between them to understand and make a pathway that is beneficial to all of us. So currently, if we consider this, all of our legal frameworks are in some manner built with a understanding that we are working on the principle of human free will and control, right? We are holding people accountable for their actions. But how do we hold a machine accountable, which is programming, and it is possible, like Shweta was saying, that, you know, the picture that is generated, that could have been asked by a human, but the picture that is generated, the product, nobody knows where it has actually come from, which are the inputs and what exact data points that the AI has collated on. So to begin with, firstly, governments, if we think, imagine the amount of data government has on us, on its citizens. So should there be accountability on government as well, how much data they will use to build any AI tool in future, if at all? And because technically, given our mindset, we believe technology more than ourselves. Even today, if you are in a in a situation where you're negotiating something, you may be well aware of a law, but you will still say, let me check. And you will not go back to a book, you will go back to Google. So that underlying inherent trait that technology is neutral could be disastrous if there is no collaboration between the stakeholders. So there has to be an accountability on the government, how much data they are using and to what extent they can use our data and analyze it for implementing AI tools, specifically in legal field. Similarly, legislative and say engineers or coders need to come to a basic consensus. What are the basic principles on which AI can be built? Even today, we cannot write a very specific law that will precisely determine an outcome in every single case that comes before a court. But like we amend laws from time to time, we need to have this collaborative effort that AI tools are checked and revised time to time, so that they are able to address any inconsistencies or any biases or ethics issues that arise in AI development. And also, see, again, declaration of sources or standardization of AI tools or certifications, right? There could be certifications of AI tools or programs saying that, you know, these have been collaboratively developed by lawyers, by judges, by government authorities, understanding what are the principles that are to be applied in our specific scenario, given the fabric of society in every country is different. So I feel, again, coming back to the same point, that while we are in the process of developing, we cannot uh, resist that AI will not be brought into our lives. We just need to figure out a way that we can apply it in the same manner that a human would. So what we can think of, again
Yes.
saying we are far away from making any conclusive decisions, but
Yes.
what in my opinion is an important thing is to understand, as AI has analytical powers, it needs to be developed just like a human is developed. You need to feed into AI what are the discriminatory practices that exist in our society and how to give them some benefit of advantage while the outcome is made. So these are some things that need collaboration on while the tool is being built.
Right.
It cannot be at the implementation stage.
So you have actually touched upon two parts actually, the AI regulation, right, and the IPR part, who owns it, right? So AI regulation, I think India, we still have to, it's a time, right? Government is not thinking over that.
I think they've issued a guideline just.
They have issued, but
Yeah.
right, but
So
in
not
EU, but EU also they have already having the certain principles they have already laid down where they have highlighted that which are the major risk, less risk, and moderate risk, like that. So they have differentiated there itself, right? And second part, IPR, because I have already told you that we will now we have only few minutes left. So we will talk about the IPR of AI. So before that, I would like to recite a poem, right? Uh, then I will put a question to you and the audiences, right? So in the mind's arena, a debate ignites with Harsha, Arpita, Shweta, shining lights. Ethical AI, the legal maze we trace, unveiling insights at a quickening pace. As moderator, I stand calm and keen, Harsha, a wellspring where wisdom is seen. Arpita's compass, guiding us true, Shweta's clarity pierces through and through. Enthralled the audiences, drinks in each word, as ideas blossom like soaring bird. But can this poem, crafted with care, be mine alone, a treasure so rare? To the panel and the audience, the query I send. In this realm of creation, where does ownership bend? So this is the poem which I have written. Now you can say I have not written it, I have taken the help of the AI.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, yeah. Are you sure this is not AI written?
So now you can check whether who can. Huh?
The thought was his, no? The idea was his.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So the thing is that who owns the ownership here? That there are three aspects to it. First thing, the coder, the algorithm code who has built up can claim that he is the author, right? Then of course, because I have given the prompts, so that's why this poem has come. So I have learned certain thing about the prompt engineering. That's the upskill that is required here, right? So that I can claim that my copyright. Certain books are already released where the creators with the AI are claiming their copyright. And the third, which is still in debate, is going on, that can the AI as a computer system who has created this, can that be that can claim ownership, right? Now that is the part of debate. But I can see the future where the AI can be so intelligent and that then they can claim that they should be the creators, not the not because the idea, the outputs are coming not based on the input. It basically they are working on the neural networks like just we are working, and then they are creating their own. And in India especially, when I have seen that the idol in a temple can file the writ petitions, then why not in future AI can claim this? With that, I just put the so question to panelists and the audience, although time is up. If anybody can answer, good.
So when the government is asked to be accountable, why aren't we all? We put everything, we even give our Aadhaar card to collect a delivery of a parcel. And we are discussing about data privacy, how it will affect us, ethics, all these things. So I think there's something that we need to discuss whether we are the ones who are perpetuating this data privacy leak or whether it's being done from the outside.
See the...
That's one question. Second thing is, Rajiv, you were talking about the way AI works. It doesn't have emotions. I think Harsha also elaborated on that. In legal system, isn't that a good thing rather than a bad thing? Because when we get to the court, if the judges had a bad day at home, we get messed up the whole day.
Yeah, but you think about the criminal system, right? If a murder has happened and there could be different reasoning for it, it could be because of a self-defense. It could be because when it is premeditated, it's different. When it's at the spur of the moment, it's different. I don't know if you remember one very classic case law that happened where this wife was being beaten up for years in UK, and then one day she went ahead and she took the revenge on the husband. So I disagree with you on that point. I think that is a police state where this is equal to this happens, and that is never a legal system a legal system that doesn't have a human touch is probably not the best, according to me. This is my personal opinion.
So when it comes to the criminal justice system, we time and again see that whenever witnesses testify in the court of law, there is not a statement that is not embellished, not exaggerated, etc. anytime, and that's where human element is very important, and that always crosses or surpasses AI and machine learning or technology, because that's where the judges, the honorable judges, observe the body language of the witness, or the eye contact, or human gestures. And when it comes to the legal system, yes, not emotions, but empathy does play a very important role.
Right.
And that's where the human element is very, very important in the legal system, not emotions per se, but sensitivity, empathy, and that human element, which I think AI and technology should not take over. And I think the onus is on us as lawyers and the judges and the system per se, as to how we maintain the right balance between, using AI and technology as a good junior for us, as a good assistant who can help us, kind of make efficient decisions, effective decisions, help us, but not make them. And the onus is always on us.
Yeah. And coming to your first point as well, where you spoke about data privacy, I think it's one that we are taking very lightly in India. And this is my personal view. I'm not sharing it with the panelist or my company or anything, so I'll say it, I'll call that out. But, at the cost of companies doing innovation, I think, we have taken a more lenient view. There are other countries like Europe who are leading in this, and I think it's where they are self-regulating. A lot of the regulation that's happening today, even in companies, are because they are self-regulating, right? Which is very important for us to do. And, where you say that when we are giving the information, I'm consenting to it. Do I have a choice? Do I have a choice today to live in without my banking? No. The answer is no. I cannot live with a bank account today, being a professional in this country, right? So I am not being given a choice, and this is why it's very important for legislators today to also act with speed. Because we cannot have the kind of delays we've had with, let's say, a UCC that's coming, or many other, like criminal law, which is being redone. Yes, we could take our time. Up till now, we wanted to define ourselves more as a society, as a nation. Maybe we had that luxury. But when we are moving this fast with technology, it needs to happen at the legislative stage. And you would have also seen how US is also battling with it, right? We have a CEO of Facebook going there, and the senator asking him, can you tell me which hotel you stayed in? Can you tell me what you ate? And he said no, right? So they themselves as human beings know that you don't want to share it with everyone. I want to share it with my friends, where I stayed and what I did. But I don't want to share it with marketing companies who will then start targeting me because of a health issue that I have or something, and start selling me and influencing me and changing my mind, at a very subconscious level. So I think we need to think as humanity about what is the meaning of profitability, And at what cost is all of this coming, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of ethical aspects that we still need to think about.
To your first question and to add, there are always choices. For banking account, of course, we don't have choices, but you are talking that where we are giving consent, we are a data vomiting country, right? But it's a choice. Because if you are downloading a Google map on Apple phone, then they are asking, in fact, asking about your consent about your gallery also. Then there is a choice whether we give or not, because they don't require it, right? So that's the thing we have to be conscious about in this technological era. Yeah. Questions are there, I think. Yeah, please. Yes.
I'm Professor Aparnama Raman, and I teach at my university is National University of Singapore, and I am faculty here at IISc. So a lot of the research that is going on now is basically building the frameworks. So it is like, it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? If this evolves to a certain place, then it stabilizes. So this is exponential, but it's also evolving very fast. My question is, why do we really need to know, if we sit in a plane, do we really check the engine and understand the engine before people are flying in the plane? I mean, by that logic, if you see the way cooking is done in India, nobody will stop having food anymore. So what are we even talking about? And the creators here, it's not we who are creating, there are adopters, there are creators, there are makers, there are regulators. So there are all kinds of people, but also there's a lot of investment that's going on. For example, when Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin, you didn't sit and do a CCTV in his lab. Einstein didn't ask permission. This is a universe. Those who have a choice to go take sannyas also and go into the forest and live, that's always an available choice. The people who want to adopt and be ahead. My question is, how do you this ecosystem, how does it more integrate into the future? Because, see, for example, you're saying that ethics, etc. I think it's the better of the human species like Sam Altman, highly educated, highly sensitized and sensible people who are developing this. Why can't we just trust this? As we trust, you know, in India, we've trusted the absurd. We've trusted things which are invisible. We've believed in epics and all the myths. So there's a myth, there's a fact. We can let them, and then if we want, we can customize and adopt according to our context, or otherwise not, because there are people living in islands also, that's fine. Nature will evolve irrespective of the nature of nature, right? There is a certain pathway to it. So I'm saying that they are responsible. They put so much money, they have more stake than us. So we should understand who has the maximum to lose from this. And if it's not causing any harm, and harm is, I mean, physical harm is fine, but if it's just going to evolve it anyway, it's neutral, and if it does something better, then why just, you know, sort of not let that happen? If we are, in fact, we can blame the machine now instead of blaming people. We are anyway going to blame somebody. So rather blame the machine than other. Thank you.
I think, ma'am, that's a great point from your side, right? Why just don't trust and just get started off? I'll tell you what, when you sit on the plane, why do you trust the plane? Is because you know that a lot of quality checks happens on the plane, right? There are regulations which happen. Obviously, otherwise, you know, you won't be up in the air. You might land somewhere else, right? There are some stringent checks, audit which happens on that. There are some regulatory frameworks which is there, right? I don't want to say that, but there were some instances where some pilots didn't have licenses or expired license, they were driving the flight, right? And there were strict actions taken. There's some regulatory framework. So what the point we're trying to say here is that, see, AI is good. AI is not bad. But there has to be a proper regulatory framework to answer some of the basic questions. The completeness, the validity, the objectiveness, the fairness, the transparency. And once you have a regulatory framework which answers all of those assertions, then it is good to go.
Why
So
should
the
we
point
trust
is
the people who are
that you
regulating?
use an AI tool, but you use it with proper caution. That's very important. That's when the trust builds up.
Sir, it's too early. And why should we trust that the regulator is a greater human being? He's the greatest lord of the lords. Why? If you don't trust this side, don't trust there also. Either both are bad or both are. See, you have to give benefit of doubt both sides. Number one, that's fairness. And secondly, if we are women part of this, nobody will ask. If are women part of the open AI, because they also have to build their capabilities. Lack of competence is justified as lack of adoption. See, if we are not competent as them, that is our problem, that is not their problem. And thirdly, why are we even, you know, when you say that checks and balances, first let them do it. You're killing, you know, it is like banyan tree and banyan. If it is not having sunlight, the 5 elements, it will let it develop to something. After all, Mary Shelley wrote in Frankenstein, let us see what it happens. Without that, if you kill off the innovation, then it will never grow like a
Actually,
child.
you have rightly
I mean, we
mentioned
trust
that,
the next
that-
generation. That itself says we should trust. If we can trust the next generation, we can trust anything.
Yes, so innovation will, regulation will kill innovation, right? You are rightly saying, but still regulations are required. So with that, time is up, so we cannot take more questions. Thank you so much. We can discuss offline if anybody
That's a
wishes
great
to.
question anyway.
Thank you very much all.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.